here jamming away because I love that commercial. So big shout out to BJ Martin for really hooking me up. She revamped my little commercial and I love it, BJ. Thank you so very much for loving on me. Welcome to Take Center Stage, Own It Magazine and Publishing Company. My name is Marissa Bludarn. I am the CEO and editor-in-chief. I have with me this evening a follow-up, the second half of Money Matters That Really Matters. We are halfway through this year, believe it or not, and we really need to do some homework. We need to really do some assessing to see where we are financially and where we want to be. Taking center stage with me and owning it tonight is Nathaniel X and he is a certified international life empowerment coach and contributing writer to the Own It magazine. He is my homie. Come on, take center stage with me.
Oh, hey, how are you? I don't get to come on with the music.
Listen, you know what is funny because I know our audience is probably bugging out because I haven't really had the music on because the commercial that thing has me in the background just moving. Yeah. Kind of feels like I got to swag way into that. But we have so much to talk about in regards to, we're halfway through this year. Can you believe that?
Yeah, it's going by quickly. They say the older you get, the faster time moves. So yes, I see it. I'm aware of it.
I don't want to say that I'm old, but this is really moving. It feels like it was just the top of the year, and we are really moving, and it's so important. Go ahead.
Now I was gonna say there's a second one for you. If you're busy, and you have a lot to do, time flies.
Yeah, it does, and it's like you can't get enough of it. It feels like every week I feel like I'm already at Thursday, and Thursday and Friday are my busiest, most demanding days because I meet all day on Thursday and all day on Fridays, and so it can really be demanding. We're here. This is part two. We were having a conversation. What was it like last week? I think, and we ran out of time. And we were talking about the importance of getting your financial house in order. We're talking about the mindset, our regular conversations, why it's so important for us to kind of shift some things. And we left off really focusing on that area. But I really want to spend tonight talking about how can you help, Nathaniel? Like, I know this is your heartbeat, finances, and making sure, especially in our communities, that our people are educated. Not only are they educated, that they have the tools, resources, and knowledge to move forward to a place of financial security. So share a little bit about yourself so that the audience gets reacquainted with you. And then let's dive into this boot camp you have.
Yeah, well, that's probably one of the toughest questions that you can ask me to talk about myself, because I don't do such a great job of doing that. Because I look at me, I'm just me, right? And born and raised in the ghettos of Baltimore City in the '60s. Navigated my way through that. Should have been dead or in prison by 18 or 25. Navigated my way through that to go to college, which, being a product of the foster care system in Baltimore, it was highly unlikely that I would go to college, but went to college and graduated. And, a lot of that all has to do with the people that I crossed paths with, and that they took an interest in me and was willing to tutor me, to teach me or mentor me. And I was, I guess, smart enough to listen, which is real important. Somebody can want to teach you, but if you're not willing to learn, it really doesn't matter. And then from there, just going to college, graduating, going into higher education as an administrator, associate dean of students at Oberlin College. I worked my way up within 7 years there, from assistant director of residential service to associate dean of students. And then left there, went into corporate America and spent 24 years in corporate real estate, global real estate firm, and, retired as an officer, global officer within the real estate company. And, opened up my own. I did, I was fortunate enough that I met people along the way that, like I said, took an interest in and mentored me that there's no reason. If you just looked at my life, there's uh, there is no reason that you would ever think that our paths would cross. So,
Mhm.
you know, one of my mentors was Jack Canfield. What are the possibilities someone from the ghetto meeting someone like a Jack Canfield,
Mhm.
and getting any guidance and direction? But there are a host of other people that I've met along the way that are very active in my life that have helped me to get from where I was to where I am. Hence the book that I wrote, "The American Dream: From the Streets to the Boardroom." Um, you know, so I mean that's kind of it in a nutshell. I mean, other than that, I just see myself as me, as a, but then you can put all the titles out there, and I remember as a kid, I used to always wonder because I had friends who had parents that were very successful. So when people ask me what do I do, it's like, well, what do you mean? What do I do? Because they want to put you in, put me into this little pigeonhole of, and it's like, no, as a corporate executive, an author, motivational speaker, a podcast host. I mean, the list just goes on, right? And it's like, because I don't want to be pigeonholed into this is the only thing that I can do. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Yeah, and you said a lot, right? How did you do to the last interview you said to me when we started? That was a lot, and so you share a lot in regards to someone taking an interest in you and taking the time. I
Right.
think that sometimes that's the biggest challenge is having the two couple, a coach and a coachee that's coachable, right? So a coach that
Absolutely.
wants to do it and then a coachee that's coachable, that's willing to listen. And one of the questions I was asking you too, and I don't know if that's on my list, but was saying to you in regards to when they're working with you, how, are they willing to do the work? So we know as coaches, we know that um, we want to pour into our clients. We want them to get it. And I've had people say to me, I know, Marissa, you want it more than we do. That should not be the case. It should be the case that the coachee, the client, really, really, really is hungry for it. And that's so important because I always say your why must make you high. Why? Because if your value point of what it is that you want to achieve is not so high and it's so addictive, you won't have the desire, the tenacity, the determination to complete it. So you have to be in a place of you gotta have it. And so with our people, it's important to convey that this is doable. Getting your financial house is doable, in order is doable. And so talk to them. I know because you and I, we can go in. But I want the people to really benefit from what you're offering, especially those who are coming in under the Own It connection. Is that you're offering something really special with this boot camp, and so let's talk about that so that the people get connected with you, understand that working with you brings forth tangible, real results. And so one of the questions I had for
Well,
you.
before you go into your list of questions, could you ask me a question now? I want to make sure I answer it.
Okay,
So,
okay.
coaching is a tricky thing, right? So one of the things that I would suggest is that if you're going to pay someone to coach you, pay someone that's a certified coach, someone who has gotten the discipline and the experience and the certification behind them, because
Mhm,
anybody can say, "Oh, I'm going to be a coach." And you're going to get those type of results if you just take anybody that's coaching you. So
mhm.
I would, get someone that's certified to coach you. The
And
other thing is, from a coaching standpoint, eh, coach, it's eh, coaches. It depends on what the coach's motivation is, right? So some coaches that are out there, some certified and not certified, their motivation is to make a living off of their money. And if their motivation is to make a living, they're going to have you come week after week after week after week because that's how they make their living. That's how they pay their rent. That's how they pay for their car note and their spending money. Fortunately for me, I'm financially set, so I don't need money from coaching to live my life or my lifestyle. So any money that I make off of coaching is only charged because you can't give it away for free. People
Absolutely.
won't accept the value in it. And the other is any money that I make in coaching, I use it to offset and help people who can't afford to get coached.
Mhm.
Um, so that's where that money goes. But I think that's real important for people to understand that.
Yeah,
Um,
people need to understand that coaching has different variations of coaching. So
yep.
you either
Yeah.
coach with you're coaching with the client in mind, and depending on whether you're going through an organization, through career development,
Yep.
succession planning, and then it depends on if you're working with someone individually. So a lot of times what we're seeing outside of the corporate environment is that life coaching, business coaching, and those areas. But it should pretty much always be towards the coachee's agenda, because that's what they're
Absolutely.
coming to you for. And so you do want someone who is certified. I remember, and I had this conversation with folks before, is my doctorate is in executive leadership coaching. And I can remember, um, you know, starting the doctoral program saying, I don't even want to be called a coach, because too many people are, I don't like to be a part of a trend or a fad. I really repel against that. I just like, I don't like it, because it doesn't have a sense of authenticity. It feels like you're just doing it because everyone else is doing. So I had to really, really own the fact that I'm not just getting certified, because you got to look at their credentials too. Who certified them? Who certified them? Because that makes a difference too. Certification.
Absolutely.
I'm getting my doctorates in executive leadership coaching, so that gives you the credential. So it is important
You know what?
for.
Let me say something to you, because this is one of the things that I really admire about you. Me coming from higher education, and I was working with some interns recently, and they were like, "So do we call you? What do we call you? Do we call you Dean Ross, or do we call you Dr. Ross, or do we call you Nate Ross?" And it's like, I'm Nate. Just call me by my name, right? Um, and that's one of the things that I admire about. No one would ever know that you're a doctor, and and that's what it's about, not throwing the titles and the positions around, that you're genuinely just there for somebody else's best interest. So
Yeah.
I just thought I'd throw that in there.
Oh, thank you. So, in an effort, because we can talk. The reason for the questions is is for the audience to make
Okay.
sure they can get clarity on what it is. Because remember, in our conversation before, in the previous interview, and audience, you need to see that interview before, because we talked all about mindset, and mindset drives behavior. We don't talk about emotional intelligence enough to understand that what you think comes into your heart. So as you're thinking, if you buy into it, becomes a part of your heart, and your heart is a part of your emotions, and that drives, whether folks want to own it or not, drives your decision making and your behavior. So you want to see that other show, because you really want to get to the mindset shift that's required in order for you to get ready for money, right? Because my prayer is in this season is like, Lord, I need to be able to have the capacity, the wisdom, the knowledge, revelation of how to manage what you're going to put in my hands. I want to be prepared. So who would benefit most? We talked about in our last interview the difference between credit repair and being educated and how to repair your credit and get your financial house in order. So kind of let's start from that perspective of what's the difference between what you're doing in this boot camp that you're offering and some credit repair folks.
All right. Credit repair is a business. It's a service, and that service is out there to, one, help you to get your credit number to go up. But they're not teaching you anything. They're doing it for you.
Mhm.
So if they do it for you and your credit score goes up and you haven't learned the lessons, you're going to end up right back where you started from, and going to have to pay somebody to do it again. So in our boot camp, we teach you how to do it. This is the nuts and bolts of how you do your own credit repair. We're not going to do it for you, because that's not, for me, that's not education. And I don't have the time nor the inclination to be helping people raise their credit scores so they can go mess them up again. Because once you understand what goes into fixing your credit score and you do the work, you're not going to let it go back down again because you put the work in to get it up.
Right.
But we're not a credit repair agency. We don't do that. We just happen to teach a component within the boot camp of here's how credit works. Here are the categories that you need to focus in on, and these are the things that you need to do to make that number go up. And then it's up to you to do it. So
it's a big difference in knowing and understanding, because everything has a system, a process, and the way that you win is understanding how the system works, right?
Absolutely. And then just from the boot camp as itself, it's teaching you or whoever goes through the boot camp. What are we doing? We're doing two things. We're teaching finances from a fundamental standpoint, because if you don't have a strong foundation, whatever you build is going to collapse. And we teach you from a formal education of finances, but we also teach you from an informal way of finances. So if you're talking to someone who is a certified financial planner, which I have on my team, they're going to tell you, here are the things that you need to do, but they can only tell you what you need to do in accordance with what the law will allow based on the license that they hold. So you'll get that information, and it's important that you get that information because those are the rules of the game of our society. I teach from School of Hard Knocks, being broke from the ghetto, working my way up, investing my money and doing the things that I did, following the formal, but also the informal process of things that I can tell you that someone who is licensed and certified wouldn't dare say to you. So that's kind of the essence of the camp, is to give you both the informal and the formal, someone who has done it from ground up.
I want to share with the audience too. We're dropping nuggets on one another, and I just want to share with the audience too. I have spoken to Nathaniel on several occasions, and in speaking with him, even though he's sitting right here, I'm just letting you know that he really has a passion for us to get out of financial crisis. And so many are in financial crisis. They're not just in financial struggles, they're in crisis. We hear a lot of stories. And I think that at some point we get a little glorifying in the fact that people are homeless. And it's a glory story when you come out of that, but it's not a good feeling when you're in it. And so he has such a passion. You have such a passion, and you mean business, and we mean business. You and I mean business. When we're talking about building up confidence, we're talking about showing up for yourself. This is an area specifically, which is your niche, to show up for yourself. And the fact that you can. Now, I'm not going to tell Nathaniel or ask Nathaniel to share the nugget he dropped in the last interview. But if you want to know a nugget about Nathaniel and why he's an authoritarian in this area, you just need to watch the last show, because he dropped a serious nugget, even for me. Now, I've known Nathaniel for a minute, and he didn't drop that nugget with me, but he dropped it in our last interview. So you're going to have to go back. If you're really hungry for knowing who's in front of you, you're going to have to go back to that other interview, which I believe it was last week, right? Was it last?
I think it was Monday or Tuesday. Yeah.
It was Tuesday. So you're going to have to go back and see exactly what he said about himself. Something that you really need to know in working with him. It is obvious that this partnership requires a level of transparency regarding financial affairs. Beyond transparency, what must the candidate do or be willing to do to achieve debt-free status?
So Pete, an individual needs to be open-minded. If you come in closed-minded, nothing's going to get through the door or through the window. So your mind has to be wide open. If you think you already know the answers, don't waste my time or anybody else's time for that matter. If you know the answers, do what you're going to do, and be where you're going to be. Right. So I was talking to this woman yesterday, and she reached out to me and asked for my help out of the blue. And I didn't charge her. And I said, this is what you need to do. Because it was a quick 10-minute, 15-minute phone call. Here's what you need to do. And towards the end of that 15 minutes, when I said, dude, this, and this, she goes, oh, I already know that. And I was like, okay. And I politely let her say what she had to say, and I got off the phone. If you already know the answer, why are you calling somebody else for help?
Ooh,
So that's what I mean by being open-minded. You need to be open-minded, and you need to be able to follow direction.
Yeah.
So if I say do A, B, C, and D, you need to do A, B, C, and D, and ask a lot of questions so that you can understand why you're being asked to do A, B, C, and D. Right? Not challenge it, but ask questions for the sake of learning. Something that's real big is not being in your feelings. Your feelings are what got you in your financial predicament that you're in right now. So you got to get out of your feelings and get and that's why we talk about the emotional intelligence and growing up emotionally. And the financial intelligence. This is an emotional financial growth process for you. So you got to get out of your feelings, because your feelings not going to do you any good. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying feelings in general are not good, because feelings in general can keep you alive. You're walking down the street and you get that feeling, your hair stand up on your neck, you better pay attention.
Yeah, you got that right.
But when we're talking about finances, I'm going to tell you, don't get caught up in the feelings. Go to the logic. You got to be honest with yourself, and you have to look at the numbers, and the numbers will tell you what's really happening.
Yeah. And you have to be you just gotta take a deep breath and exhale. And you just gotta get past, we talked about finances, the shame, the embarrassment, the feeling of I should have known better, even though we know we're not having these conversations in homes growing up. Like you said, you're from the streets. No one was having these conversations during dinner about finances. And I share with you too, like no one was having these conversations about school and strategy and all these other things when I was a kid growing up. And I had my mom, I had my parents. So they talked about different things, but they weren't talking about the things that needed to be discussed. And so, when you get to a certain point, you got to let that go. And there, you have to have transparency. You just have to have transparency. It's just like working out. If you want to work out, I remember having a coach of physical fitness, personal trainer. And I remember when I first went to her, the very first time I went to her, and I tell the story all the time. I was a gymnast when I was in high school, middle school, high school, doing flips, everything, physically fit. So when I went to her, the first time it was like, and I don't eat a lot. It was when I was eating. It was just some little things that I could tweak. And so I went to her, but I kept eating the same way, kept my same behavior. But I showed up every week for my workouts, right? So finally, you know what she said to me? She said, Marissa, keep your money. I don't want your money. I don't want your money. You're not serious about getting yourself in shape. And I had to eat humble pie. Came back to her a couple of years later, but I came back to her after losing 35 pounds. And knowing that I was at a point where I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to lose the other 35. So but when I came back to her the second time, she knew that I was serious. And she said, Marissa, I'll work with you because I see that you're ready. So when it comes to your finances, you got to be willing to do the work, and you got to be transparent and speak the truth, because it is the truth that will set you free. And just we're doing this speaker say, push past it. The next question I have for you is, how much of the responsibility of the debt relief and financial recovery is on the candidate participating in the program? And why is that important? And I think you addressed that a little earlier, but could you elaborate a little bit more on that? You talked about who's doing the work.
Yeah. So the responsibility, all of it is on the individual. And let me be clear with that. No matter what you do in life, you are always responsible for everything that you do or don't do. You don't have the right or the luxury to give up responsibility to somebody else. And if you do, you have to live with the consequences of what somebody else told you to do, whether it's good or bad. So the responsibility always, anything that I teach, the responsibility rests with the individual. And you have a right, and if you're working with me on my team, you have a right to ask 1,001 questions. You got a right to go out and do the research. You got a right to challenge and say, well, this is not what this says or that says. And but ultimately, at the end of the day, you're responsible for taking the information that's shared with you, the guidance and direction that's given to you, and you got to figure out what works for you, and you use it or you don't. But that's where the responsibility is. And if you don't get your personal affairs in order, it's going to be reflective in your business affairs. So if you already have a business, I guarantee you, whatever you're doing personally is showing up in your business, not unless you got a business financial person running your business finances for you. And if you don't have a business and you're about to start a business, whatever you're doing in your personal business, I mean your personal finance is going to be reflective in everything that you develop in your new business.
Yeah, because the one variable that never changes with you is you.
That's it. That's it.
That's why I focus on life, career, and business, because any individual that's going into business, you're still working a full-time job until your business can take care of you. So, I was always questioned when I first started coaching was, Marissa, why are you focusing on those three domains, right? And I said, because the one variable that never changes is the individual. If I can't shift them, that's the beautiful thing about my education, my training is about the psychological aspect of coaching and development. What's going on up here governs your behavior. I need to work here so that I can change your behavior. If you're open enough to receive a change in your mindset and thinking, then we can change your results everywhere else. So it's life, career, business. It's your life. Own it. Own it, own it. And that's what you verified. It's like you have to own it all, the good, the bad, the ugly, and indifferent. The next question I have is, if the candidate follows the program as instructed, how long will it take them to see results?
So that's kind of a tricky question. So in that, no, and let me be clear. You will see results immediately.
That's what I thought.
Yes, you will see results immediately, but the outcomes vary based on your personal situation. So the whole purpose of the camp is to teach you both formally and informally and empower you through education that you're going to be able to see immediate results. But you got to do the work in order to get the outcome. So you might have someone that's $100,000 in debt versus someone that's $20,000 in debt. You're both going to see the results in the same time period. The results are you need a debt plan and you need to have a date and a plan in order to get out of debt. They both are going to see that at the same time. But one's going to get out of debt faster than the other because of the dollar amount or the amount of income that's coming in.
Right. Yeah, my thought with that question was it should be immediate. Next question is, once out of debt, what's next, and why is what's next important?
So once you get out of debt, it's a noun shift because you're no longer the same person who you were before. When you're operating in debt, you're under a great deal of stress. You're making a lot of bad decisions. You're probably ill because stress leads to illnesses.
Yeah.
But once that debt is managed and you have a plan to execute to get out of it, now you're no longer who you were. So it's like the caterpillar going into its cocoon to become out a butterfly, you don't go back. So you come out of debt. I'm not going to say you'll never go back in debt. It's highly likely that you won't go back in debt because you did the work to get out of it.
Right.
But if you go back, if you choose to go back into debt, it's going to be a pretty painful process because you know what you're doing to damage yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not the same person. Now, once you're out of debt, who you are now is not who you're going to be in the future. So now you got to start preparing for who do I become? So the money that you were spending in debt now goes to investments that secures your future. It secures your financial stability, but it also creates generational wealth.
Yeah. And so you help them with that part too. So you help them with the debt part, then you help them to prepare themselves to transition into a wealthy place.
In mindset, yes. And some people get it and some people don't, right? So I was working with this one woman. She was in debt and she came in, she's like, "Oh, Nate, the world is falling apart." And I'm like, "No, it's not." But she went through the boot camp and and she was pleasantly surprised how quickly she was able to get out of debt, right? So you would think that the light bulb would come on of hunger and say, well, if I did this and I got out of debt that quick,
Right.
if I do what he said on the other side on terms of investments, I'm set. And she didn't do that. But she got herself out of debt. So kudos to her for getting herself out of debt. She's living within her budget. Kudos for doing that. But she's still wasting a lot of money instead of preparing for her future and generational wealth down the road.
And this is the part that's equally as important. It's not only to you got to know, right? So I was working with a gentleman. We're speaking in a conference, the Black Expo this weekend, and I went to his website. I was doing some promotional stuff for him, and I went to his website and it said, "Each one teach one," right? And so it's just like, I remember that.
Yep.
And I added to that. I said, not only each one teach one, each one reach one, so that we can teach one, right? And so it's so important for us. Don't stop there. Don't just get out of debt. Are you kidding me? Get to a wealthy place so you don't ever have to see that. And just like you said, it's bigger than just you.
Yeah,
you want to go and get the family. Come on.
Yeah, most people don't have they don't have their big why. Why am I doing this? Right. So without the big why, there's the motivation's not there. People probably get offended by this, but I really don't care. People are selfish. They only care about themselves and what they can have in the here and the now. And as long as that's how you think and behave, then that's going to be the legacy of your family.
So it's like, so people, what's being said here is about, at some point it's got to be, you got to see this bigger picture. And the bigger picture is, because I remember, I don't remember where I heard it from, but the minute I heard it, I owned it for myself. And it's like, your kids, you need to be doing better than your parents, and your kids need to be doing better than you. And that should be with each generation that's coming out of a struggle. That struggle should lessen and lessen, and it should be getting better and better. That's where we should be.
Yeah, but there's a distinction that we need to make there, and we need to get crystal clear on it. Because there's positive and a negative approach to anything that we do. So I'm probably going to embarrass my daughter, but I'm gonna share a story with you. My daughter, when she was younger, I worked with her and tried to convince her that she should own real estate. Now she's only 16 years old, so that was the furthest thing from her mind. But I would take her to my rental properties and introduce her to the tenants, and she saw, how that whole process worked. Well, at 16, she wasn't ready for it, right? And we had a conversation. She's now 31. We had a conversation the other day, and she says, I can't believe that I'm, making six-figure income and that I'm buying a $500,000 condo and I'm doing this. And she's like, can you believe that? And I'm like, yeah, because the seeds were planted early. They're blossoming now. So I knew that they were going to come. But my daughter will also tell you that even though we had material stuff and money, she was not spoiled. And that's what a lot of people think, that, oh, we got to make it better for our children, and they got to make it better for their children. Yeah, you got to make it so that they can supersede where you are, but you don't give them everything. You got to let them earn, and you got to let them learn the lessons that life in order to get ahead. Because there's a lot of wealthy kids out there where their parents, and I have some friends like that, their parents did not teach them. They just gave them a trust or an inheritance, and those kids are out of control. Yep. So while we do want each generation to get better, we want our kids to do better than we did and our grandkids to do better than our kids. We still need to teach the hard lessons of life that comes with that, not just hand money over to them.
Oh, absolutely, because they won't have it. That's not how you create generational wealth, because you won't have it, because somewhere along the line, ignorance will eat that up. And we talked about, and I, you share with me, there's a difference from being rich and being wealthy.
Yeah.
There's
that wealth usually disappears within 1 to 2 years of it being passed on to the next generation, because we haven't educated them. So it doesn't matter how much it is, it's usually gone within 1 to 2 years.
Yeah, and young people have an identity crisis because of that too, because it's not just teaching them about, and we can go into this deep. Wow, we are like, oh my God, we can go into this deep, right? And talk about how society has taken away chores, right? Back in the day, you had chores. Not only did you have chores, you had an allowance. Allowance was linked with your chores. So all of that was designed to introduce the child into discipline, how to care for and value their home, their family, how to value the importance of decision making. Do I want that now? Do I need to wait for it? Learning how to wait for things. Now, because parents have gotten so career oriented and career driven that it's just pacified. Here's the technology, go sit down. Here's this, go sit down. So now we got the maid, or we got the cleaning lady coming in. They're cleaning, they're emptying the trash. I can remember once having my daughters empty the trash, because I had girls, and I remember their dad saying, oh, I'll do that. And then you look up and it's not done. And my biggest argument always was this, is that you're not helping them by doing it for them. They need to do it themselves. Girls, boys, whatever. They need to know the importance of doing this themselves. And thank God, even with that, my kids still grew up knowing to do stuff themselves.
Well, I had a nephew that used to come and stay with me in the summertime. And I had a housekeeper. And it was funny because he was young. I mean, he was really young. He was probably like 7 at the time. And I walked upstairs and he was in the bathroom and he just dropped his clothes right there in front of the sink. And I said, man, go pick up your clothes. And he looked at me with no hesitation. And he goes, don't worry about it. Maria will get it. Now, Maria was our housekeeper. I said, no, Maria won't get it. You're going to get it. And then I gave Maria the week off that he was staying with me with pay. And I said, now we're going to see how Maria do it for you now.
Right.
But that was, it was like, that was a lesson he had to learn. Just because you have someone that works for you and take care of you, you don't get to abuse that by doing stupid things. So.
Yep. No, you have to teach them value. And we had the conversation too in regards to, sharing with you about my daughter and the Coach bags and her. And the beautiful thing is, my family is all about community too, and giving back to the community. she saw, she's like, there's no real value in having a Coach bag if everybody can have a Coach bag. And so even now today, she goes and buys it secondhand. She does the secondhand thing.
Yeah.
She loves it. She loves it because of the value of the experience, and also the humbleness and groundedness that comes from, just because you have doesn't mean that things don't make you, you make the things. I always say,
Correct. Yeah. Yep.
I make anything that I'm wearing, or I make that, and designs and all that status stuff. I'm not driven by that. I could care less about those things. And I will say to the audience, I charge you this, that the way that you come out of debt is that you're going to have to consume less. You're going to have to train yourself to eat less. And it's not necessarily peanut butter, because depending on the price of the peanut butter, it may not be cheap. So you're going to have to find the most cost-effective way, and you're going to have to do without. You're going to have to sacrifice in order for you to get ahead. And that's the conversation I said to you, because in doing a lot of things that I had to do just that. And one thing I'm thankful to God about with my personality and what I've been exposed to is the ability to be humble enough and flexible. I said the things that I do, most people won't do these things because you're not willing to sacrifice. And it's important for you to be willing to sacrifice for the long term. Don't get temporary satisfaction, because temporary is only for the moment. But when you sacrifice for the greater good and for the long-term impact of change and deliverance, that's what's going to stand. That's what's going to last. Can you believe I looked up? We're almost on an hour. This is supposed to be.
It's okay. It's okay. And one of the things I'll just put this out there, and it's up to you if you want to do this down the road. And I'm not going to share because it's not my story to share. But the conversation that you and I was having, where I told you were going to be at the end of the year,
right.
When you hit that mark, let's go on the air and let's do a 2-hour live where we will answer any and everybody's questions that they may have, where we take them directly from them in order, and that will be kind of a reward for hitting your goal from my perspective anyway.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. That's awesome. Awesome. Okay, so the last thing I have for you is, we talked in our previous interview about generational wealth. We even talked about that right now. Do you provide coaching services to help clients obtain generational wealth along with sustainability and continued growth in their finances?
And the short answer, yes. I'm a holistic coach, right? So I can't talk to you just about money, even though that may be the primary thing that you want me to talk about. Well, money's tied to spirituality. It's tied to health. It's tied to family. It's tied to community. It's tied to education. So we can't have a conversation about money without having a conversation about those other things, because money is independent, yet it's interconnected to those other areas of your life. So I would be negligent as a coach if I didn't bring those things up to you. Yes, I did. And I tell you this, and you might, I don't know if people can believe this or not, but I just started working with the young man. I think he's 31, 32 years old. And I was like, what is your end goal? What do you want? And he couldn't figure it out, right? I mean, he kind of knew what he wanted, and he'd tell me these stories. I'm like, cut the stories. Bottom line, what is it that you're looking for? And we figured out that what he was looking for was financial stability for his family and generational wealth. So I said, okay, I'm going to give you one exercise to do. And you do this one exercise, and then you come back to me once you've done that exercise. And he did it. And what it has shown for him from doing that one exercise, he's already set in motion that he will retire with $15 million in the bank. And he will be able to pass that on to his daughter without even including what his wife does.
Wow.
So that's the kind of stuff that I'm going to teach, is not just how do I get what I want right now, but how do you get it for your kids and for your grandkids? And it's not that complicated of a process. So let's cut all the BS out. Let's cut all the excuses out. It's not hard. You got to stop. The white man won't let me do this. The system is rigged against me. Yeah, okay. So some of that stuff does exist. Some of that stuff is true. But are you going to stand there and keep, arguing that that's what's keeping you from getting ahead? Or are you going to figure out, well, okay, since those blockages are there, what am I going to do to get around them in order to get the end result that I'm looking for? So it's not that complicated of a process. And a lot of people don't want to share it because they're selfish. They want to keep the wealth and hoard it because if I'm wealthy, I now have a status that you don't have. Well, I just happen to come from the mindset of abundance. We can all be wealthy. I don't care.
Yeah. And that's the difference. And that's what they need to get. They need to really understand that, this connection and this network here with Own It, our mindset is not about us. It's about giving back. We've reached self-actualization, and that's what that means. Self-actualization is when you come into the fullness of, fulfillment. And it feels so good, the level of freedom that you're operating in, that you are compelled beyond your own self-control to go back and get others so that they can experience what you're experiencing. And so that's what's here in front of this audience, is that we want you to have this. I want you to have, my thing is strategy, confidence and the boldness to go after what it is you want to. And Nathaniel is here to say that financially you can do it. You can do it in a major way, and it can be generational. And that's what you should be in pursuit of. It should be in pursuit of generational wealth. So that when you leave, that's legacy. When you leave this world, you leave a mark of it on it that cannot be erased. That shows that you are here and you've empowered your family line to do much better than we did and those before us. I think
we gotta move away from legacy just being money.
Oh yeah.
Legacy is education
Tradition,
as well.
Culture.
Yes.
It's who we are, who your family is, who they are, what they stand for, where it came from. I mean, it's all of that. That's where the identity crisis comes in. The identity crisis comes in when you don't know who your family is. You don't know what they're about. You don't know the gifting that goes through generations. There's a gifting that you'll see. It is a thread through the generation that you all have this same way about you. There's core values, moral convictions, traditions. So there's so much, and that's how wealth can stay, right? Because
Absolutely.
you value and you respect and you have so much pride in your family that you will not just do anything or allow anything to happen. There's a level of commitment and conviction to protect the family's legacy. The legacy is the totality, just like you said, the whole.
Yeah. So what I normally do is, for my individual coaching, I charge $250 an hour for coaching. But for the Own It platform, we're going to do $100 an hour. And for those people who think they can't afford it, you can, because I'm not going to coach you every week. Right. I'm going to coach you and say, here are the things that you need to do. Don't come back and see me till those things are done. So you can afford a quality coach. The other thing is, when I do my workshops go anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000 for a workshop. We're going to do this boot camp for $600 because we want to remove the excuse of people saying, I cannot afford to do it. Yes, you can afford to do it. Even if you can't afford the $600, we're going to let you make payments. We're going to let you make 2 payments of $300. And if you can't do that, we're going to let you make payments of $200. But we're going to remove any excuse that you have as to why you can't get to this. And if you don't show up, that's on you. It doesn't change my lifestyle. It doesn't change who I am or what's going on around me. But my suggestion to you is show up, take charge of your life, and make a difference for yourself and for your family.
Make a difference.
We'll find that money to go out on the weekend to buy a new outfit, get our hair done, go get, go out, do drinks. Yeah. Oh yeah. Get the nails done. Oh, we'll find the money to do that, but we won't find the money to change our kids' lives. And I tell people all the time, I'm gonna give a free nugget away here. I'm gonna give a free one. For those of you who have kids, young children, start putting away $2,000 a year for that young child. By the time they're 18. If you never put another penny away for them, they will retire wealthy. Now, I share that in every class that I teach. Very few people will ever take me up on it. That's why I'm telling you that people are selfish. But they will go out to the clubs and they'll go out to all these events. They'll find money to go on vacation. They can do any and everything that involves themselves, but they can't make that small sacrifice for their kids. So you tell me. I don't know.
Well, I tell you, so you can get connected, as you see, guys, on the ticker tape, and I'm actually going to drop it in the I'm going to drop it really quick in the chat so that you guys can, all the comments, so you can actually have it there. So let me grab it real quick.
And we're going to do the boot camp for Own It platform. So that's for all of your staff members and for any of the listeners. We're going to do that starting in July, August, and September. It's going to be on Thursday night. It's going to be from 7 to 9. It's going to be a video conference. And that's where you're going to learn the information. And that's where you can ask any question that you want to ask that's about your situation and have that change.
Okay, audience, here you go. This is his contact information. And look at that. Coaching for $100 a session is amazing. That's very good. And as it's needed. So he's not even saying you have to do it, every single week. He's saying, look, I'm going to give you an assignment. You're going to go do that. Then you're going to come back. And so that to me is incredible. I'm doing the boot camp. I'm telling you right now, I'm doing the boot camp because I want to accelerate. I want to be able to do that. And when you're doing foundational work and building up, it comes a point where you have to go and you have to get higher knowledge, higher training so that you know. And I want to do it. So I'm excited. I'll be in the boot camp. So join me. I will be in the boot camp.
You know what? While it's a really serious matter when we talk about finances, we have fun.
I know it's the truth, because who wouldn't have fun? Who would not have fun putting financial house in order? Who would not have fun doing it?
It really becomes a game. And the game is, okay, you did this and you got this result. So how do I tweak it? How do I do something a little bit different that's going to give me a better result? And it becomes a challenging, fun game to play.
Honey, why are you making the money? I love it. I love it. So do you have any closing remarks for them? It's boot camp. It's time to put your boots on, strap it up, and let's get busy. Tough love is the best love.
Yeah, it's not about coming and hearing me speak. That's not going to do you any good. It's about coming, hearing what I got to say, and asking 1,001 questions so that you can get the answers that you need based on whatever your situation is. And it's about doing the work. So if that's not important to you, to ask those questions where you have access to somebody who can give you the real answers, then it's not the boot camp. You don't need to be there. If you're not willing to do the work, don't come, because you're going to hinder somebody else from asking their questions or getting their work done. And I'm all about helping people, but I only want to help people who help themselves.
Yeah. And any good coach who does not have an agenda other than your success, that's exactly how we feel. Because I'm going to tell you, when I work with clients and I don't see them show up, I'm not happy with that. I'm not happy with that, because my time is valuable. And if I'm showing up for you, I need you to be showing up for yourself. Because the thing that we get glory in and we get excited about is seeing you succeed. That's what the fuel for us comes into play. It's like our joy comes from, oh my God, they did it.
Yeah. You know what? And people, there's abundancy and then there's scarcity. And most people live in scarcity. And I remember working with this one guy who's actually, he's a good friend of mine now. But when I first started working with him, he had a real scarcity mindset. And his mind, and he's from Philadelphia, and you know how Philly folks are, right? And, and his thing was, I'm gonna figure this guy's angle so I can call him on it. That was his whole thing. I'm gonna go along with this just so I can figure out what his angle is.
I do not like that.
And so he went along with it. And today he's actually one of my good friends. And he's thriving, and he's no longer surviving, he's thriving. And he never found the angle. So I said, okay, now if you want to know why I do what I do, here's what I need you to do. Everything that I've shown and taught you, you go out and you do that with other people.
Right.
And he did. He went out and he started doing it, and he's like, man, this is priceless. I can't believe that you get to feel like this. And I'm like, now you understand why I do what I do.
Yeah.
But you can't tell that. You can't tell that to somebody, because most people are not going to comprehend that.
No, because you have to experience that for yourself. Like you
Yes.
have to experience. That's why I said, when you come into that place, because people think self-actualization is coming into a place of perfection, and it's not.
Not at all. Not at all.
Perfection is coming into the fullness of who you are, the full, authentic self of view of self and acceptance of self. And then the freedom that comes from, being disconnected in a sense to complying or needing the position of society to be who you are. And that's the level of freedom. That's self-actualization. You come into the fullness of who you are, and the freedom of trying to please or submit in a way that is going to be detrimental to yourself. And so without further ado, listen, the boot camp, we start. What's the start date? When do we start?
It's the first Thursday in July. I think it's the 9th. First Thursday in July.
Okay, I can tell you. First Thursday in July is the 7th.
The 7th.
That's my daughter's birthday. So I will be in the house. I'm excited to be a part of the boot camp, creating generational wealth, because that is what I'm all about. I'm excited. And I'm looking forward. And it's 3 months?
3 months. Yep.
3 months.
July, August, and September. Last Thursday in September.
I'm ready, because I have been waiting. I'm like, oh my God. And I shared with you the other day, I was like, wait a minute, I just need that one letter. And so I got that confirmation yesterday, because I said, I'm not waiting. I'm calling them and finding out. I think it was, if we would talk yesterday, or it was the day before. It may have been Tuesday. I said, I'm finding out, and so I am so excited about moving forward with you. And that's the last thing that I really had to do. Like, as far as my transformation of, fully working for myself, and, this whole phase of my life, people go financially. I divorced in 2011, and that's a huge transformation. I know for me, I'm just fully coming back. And when you look at in all areas of my life, not just the separation and, becoming your own person again without somebody else, just to the fullness. And this was one of the last pieces I knew that God was going to be working out. And I'm telling you, this is a season. 2022 is it, people. So if you really are looking for financial breakthrough or any kind of breakthrough, it is this year. It is this season for you to own it. Just own it. It's a mess. Just own the mess and start. Once you take hold of it, instead of denying it or deflecting from it, just own it. Clean up the room, clean up the house. And so I'm really excited. I cannot wait. And then listen, in 3 months, people, I'm going to be on the other side saying, this is it. So I'm really excited. I'm excited I'm not trying to rush the year, but I am excited to to come to the end of 2022 and just really see, how it just all, comes into play. This is a really exciting time.
Yeah, transformation is a beautiful process.
Oh my God, it is.
Yeah.
When you embrace it instead of fighting it. Don't
Yep.
fight it, it's the process. And the minute that you embrace it and you get on a path, so your mind has to be on the path that I'm going to be better on the other side of this. Not this is going to be, not, being terrified of it. Just allow. And you said earlier, everything, no matter what, it's always going to go back to your spirituality too. Where
Yep.
is your faith being driven from? And I'm crazy for Jesus, so my faith is like I'm a praying woman. So you have to figure out what is it that you do, and you have to get. And my thing is always you better make sure it works. And so get that together and get focused on the positive side of coming out winning on the other end.
Let me just share, because this is a tough thing for most people to do. That the mind shift is the hardest part. And once you decide to do something like this starts the process of the mind shift. So you know how people say, "Oh, I love him," or "Oh, I love her," right? And the woman or the man is beating the crap out of the other person, or they're lying to the other person, or they're cheating on the other person. But they get grounded and begin to believe that that's love, and that's acceptable, right? But if you truly understand love, and you understand that when you operate in love, you're always doing what's in someone's best interest. Always, always. But not many people have exposure to that. And that's one of the uniqueness about what we do. We're always uplifting each other. We have no desire to turn anybody down or to lie to anybody but people aren't used to that. So it's foreign.
Yeah, and it's also that breach of trust, right? So in order for you to let your guard down, you have to be able to trust, and that's why it's so important. Again, it goes back to that spirituality, because I always let folks know that my heart is never in anybody's hands. My heart is always in the hands of God. Why? Because I know that His love for me is unfailing. I don't put expectancies on individuals, because I know that they are not going to, not that they intentionally do it, but they're not always going to be able to meet your expectations. So don't set yourself up for a falsehood that this person has the ability to do it. I always say you don't expect the best, and you don't expect the worst and hope for the best. You believe the best, and whatever comes out of it, you just recognize that this is how it is, and you keep moving. I love the ability to forgive. The quicker you are to forgive, the quicker you are to release it, so that your trust doesn't get breached. Forgive them, let them go, and move on. And you don't even look for them to have to apologize. Folks are not going to always come back and apologize. And if you have that expectation of them apologizing, they have to go through the whole process of owning their stuff too. And you can't wait around for someone to get an epiphany to own their garbage. You have to say, I forgive you, whether you get it or not. I'm out of here. Because your happiness, your peace of mind is so much more important. And you're trusting God, not the people.
But there's something I would say to that. There are a lot of people that do a lot of lip service, right? I believe, I trust.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you with certainty, God doesn't give you everything you want, and sure enough, don't give it to you when you want it.
I can tell you.
And there are a lot of people that get upset with God. So if God's not going to give you everything that you want when you want it, why would you expect a person to be able to do that? So,
No. And you got to also realize that it shouldn't be about that you get everything that you want. Sometimes it's about character building. It's about building your character. Again, like I said earlier, some folks would not do some of the things like I moved here to the Dominican Republic. Everybody can't handle this move. Everybody's not going to be able to handle this transformation process. And so everybody's like, oh, it's so beautiful. And it is beautiful. It is beautiful. But it's also a learning process. Learning, it's also a process of getting to know the area, getting to know what you don't know what's going to happen next. You don't know. So there's a lot of trusting, and there's a lot of faith and trusting God and being stretched and being uncomfortable. Like I said to you, I had the citronella candles going. I had the, and I got sick, right?
Yeah,
Trying to
yeah.
have all of that stuff going. Because of what has gone on in my life before, I didn't go into a place of fear. I didn't go into a place of fear. I didn't go into panic, because I learned early on that no, Marissa does not get everything she wants. And that's good, because I'm not a spoiled brat. I know how to be able to handle high and low moments. I have flexibility. I have fluency or fluidity, right? So I can flow, and God can trust me to do things, because he knows that she's not going to have a temper tantrum. She's not going to feel like I don't love her. She's not going to go through all of these things, because she knows that my love for her is here. She knows that I'm going to take care of her, and the things that she really needs, they're going to be there. They may not be there the way that she would want them to be there, but I'm cool with that. I don't need all of that. I just need a peace of mind, right?
Peace and tranquility, yes.
That's it. A peace of mind, and to know that my daddy loves me. I don't have to have him do everything for me. And I'm not going to blame him when things don't go right, because some of the things that I do, I'm not listening to him always. So some of that stuff I have to own as well. But God is good, and he's faithful, and you got to trust him, and you got to allow yourself to be stretched, and you have to be a good steward. So as you get ready to receive the wealth, you're preparing for the wealth, you need to be praying, God, give me.
And we'll do this when we do that show where people can call in and ask questions. Mm-hmm. I'll be in the DR. We'll do it together from the DR.
We're gonna be dangerous over here.
Hey, you might be on the beach doing it. I don't know, but I'm just saying.
Well, listen, let me tell you something. I'm still over here getting get projects on point. But once I get my projects on point and a little bit more Spanish, I'm telling you, we're gonna be out in the street. We're gonna be out in the street, and I'm looking forward to that too.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot that they can learn over there. In fact, I'm actually working on the Spanish version of everything that I do, because that's a large community we can help.
Oh my God. Yes. And what a beautiful people they are here. I love it. The hola, just walking around, the people are beautiful here. So I'm looking forward to it too. We have gone our hour plus, but I'm really excited because this is really a serious conversation, and we'll continue to have these conversations. You can also follow a lot of tips from Nathaniel Ross in the Own It magazine. He's in every month. His articles are there for you to learn investment, getting out of debt, some of the things that credit card companies don't want you to know about your credit cards and all that other good stuff. They're all in the Own It magazine. So hey, just subscribe. Go to TCS Consulting LLC /events and subscribe to the Own It magazine. We'd love to have you. And like I said, I'm doing the boot camp. I'm looking forward to doing the boot camp. I've been looking forward to doing the boot camp since Nathaniel and I first met, and I'm super excited that he is actually extended a special offer to Own It people. So Own It people, you better reach out to Nathaniel. He is your contributing writer, your fellow contributing writer. Reach out to him and connect with him, and let's make it happen. He's going to be presenting. You're going to be presenting on the 24th.
24th, yes.
Yeah, he's going to be presenting on the 24th in our contributing writer meeting. So make sure you're there. We love you so very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here. We can't wait to see you on the other side. Take care. Have a great weekend.
Take care now.